Well, good evening. It's rather late this day, and it's the Tuesday. So I guess that's the 6th day of Pesach. I'm wearing my sunglasses because one of my eyes looks kind of weird, as though it's gone a bit of its own in its own direction. I don't know why that happens. So I'll just wear the shades. Looks better. But I did go up to the church today, this morning, and I had an interesting encounter that really has unseated me or disturbed me a little bit. I've been reflecting on it. So I was seated with a group of older ladies, I guess. They were all women, I think, in the group. But I didn't put myself there. They came to the table. So I can plead a level of innocence. And three of the people that came to the table, they're a group of friends. And I think one is the mother and the other is the daughter, and the other one must be a friend. And the daughter's an interesting young lady. She's quite young compared to the others. I would think, I don't know, maybe 40 or something like that. And she has a tattooed arm, which is unusual in the church. Quite heavily tattooed, one arm at least. So we have that in common, because I have a tattoo as well, tattooed arms. And I'm pretty sure she's aware of it, because at the moment, you can't see, but if I have to put on a singlet or something, I do sometimes. And then they're completely visible. And I think I've been in the church wearing that when she's been present. But I've never really chatted to her much at all. I can't remember her name even just now. But so I was interested to have the opportunity, I felt, to have a little chat as we were seated at the same table. And I was quite interested to talk to her, to find out that she was a piano player. She had a piano. I don't know how that came up in the conversation. And we had quite a lengthy discussion of music and playing and so on. I'm always interested when somebody's doing something, music, well, anything really. I took a great interest in her piano playing, and she told me she liked to play rock kind of music mainly. And I said that I'd got a record player and I'd set it up, but I had very few records. And one of the records that I have is a David Bowie album that I bought because my daughter likes David Bowie. But I don't really like David Bowie, although I recognize his, grandeur and his skill and his excellence in every way. I just don't like his stuff. I never have. And I find it a little bit weird. And of course, he's got these satanic connections, has Bowie. And that troubles me a little bit. Crowley's Golden Dawn and all these cryptic lines in some of his songs, they seem to be quite satanic. And I remember my daughter and I together watched his Labyrinth film. And my daughter was quite affected by it, and I didn't think in a very good way. It was quite a tricky piece of filmography. We have to be careful with what we watch, you know. If the mind hasn't been prepared for it, it can have quite a significant effect. But she obviously loved Bowie, and so we differed in that. And she was, you know, a huge fan. But I was speaking pleasantly, you know, I wasn't challenging her or anything like that. And I happened to mention something, you know, Bowie is, and she corrected me, and well, he was. Well, that was an unfortunate moment, of course, because there's a certain amount of discussion about the death of David Bowie. It seemed to be, it was subject to some scrutiny within the truth community, and there's quite a bit of video evidence to show that it was probably a staged event. I mean, that's just speculation, of course. You know, I just watched something on YouTube, or quite a few things on YouTube, and I wonder whether he wasn't, you know, removed. Not murdered, I wouldn't think, just, you know, taken to the island or allowed to continue his life as he pleases, because that's what happens then, you know. The fact that you look like David Bowie doesn't make you David Bowie unless you own it. And they've discovered that they can kill people virtually, as they was thought had been done with Elvis Presley. And again, you know, there's more evidence than I'd initially realised that that could be the case. So, you know, I didn't go into these details, but, you know, I just premised by saying that I was a conspiracy theorist, quite evidently. And she just became extremely cold and hostile. But I don't know whether that was the moment, because at a certain point, talking about music, I mentioned the organ and asked her if she played the organ, which she didn't do, and she informed me that she didn't like the organ. And it's understandable. I mean, the organ isn't a percussion instrument. The piano is a percussion instrument. And the organ is a wind instrument. So it's really quite different. And she said that there's all the delay that happens between press before, you know, when you press the key, you have to wait. It's not instantaneous like the piano. The pedals and the pumps have to respond. I guess on an electrical organ it could be more dynamic. And I said, well, yes, you know, I agree with that to some extent. I generally don't listen to organ music because if I find it a bit overwhelming, but that's on a record player. But in the church, there's a local church built probably in the 1700s. They have a beautiful organ, and I've had the pleasure to hear it on when the Choral Society has performed, and I've managed to get a ticket. And to me, it's just beautiful. The deep bass notes on that organ, they just vibrate through your body, and the music is it just takes on a different dimension, and I love it so much. And she replied that anything that for her that has to do with religion, she said, you know, I hate all that stuff. I hate religion. I hate the Bible. I hate the church. All right. What do you say? Well, I asked her, I said, have you read the Bible? And she said, well, I used to go to Sunday school and all the rest of it. And I said, no, I mean, have you read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation? And she says, she's just not interested in it, doesn't like it. And I pointed out, that to have an antipathy for something without knowing it is irrational. And that was probably the end of it. I mean, I wasn't being at all abrasive. I was being really polite, I thought. I was just making a point, it's just a fact. If you say that you hate my back garden, but you've never seen it, then, your words have no value. If you say that you hate the Bible, but you've never read it, you don't know what you hate. But I detected almost a kind of a spiritual energy between the pair of us. And it was really negative. It was like something had been, a switch had been thrown, and I could no longer speak to this young woman. It was quite odd. And it made me wonder whether there is something in this, like a spiritual kind of divide that you do feel with some people, don't you? Maybe that's being intensified now, and that a chasm opens up where nobody can tread. And then the companion, well, I was trying to clarify. She said quite boldly, this young lady, I hate religion, and I concurred. I said, I agree with you. I'm the same. I hate it. I added, that's why I don't come to church. Well, of course, all the people at the table would have been, except for her, the elderly people would all have been churchgoers. And I got a dig from the lady on my left who informed me that the church does a lot of good. That I should pipe down the church does a lot of good. Well, I mean, I could have quoted the Bible at her as well, couldn't I? Because I've only got to go to Psalm 14. Let me have a look. I lined it up. The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand and seek God. They are all gone aside. They are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread, and call not upon the Lord? There were they in great fear, for God is in the generation of the righteous. Ye have shamed the counsel of the poor, because the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Israel were come out of Zion, when the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people. Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. Well, I didn't have to read the whole psalm to make my point, but of course, there's always that verse to remember when somebody claims that the church is doing good. It's an absolutely unbiblical claim. And it isn't, because it's giving money to charity, to different charities. It's collecting money from the righteous, Pharisees and handing it to charities that steal it, that misappropriate it, paying themselves generous salaries and really living on the back of the piety of the people, the vain piety of the vanity of the people, doing good. They wouldn't piss on me if I were on fire. But I mean, that's just the way that it is. I was chatting to another lady at that table because I've spoken to her before, and we have quite a lot in common. She's very interested in the arts and in painting, and she's a nice sort of pleasant soul to chat to. And she taught me some good places to go for a walk in the local area. But she's not, she doesn't understand the desperate condition that we're in. I only really speak to her also because in the Bible study I read a passage of Job. The matter of wisdom had arisen in the passage of the Acts, the book of Acts that we were reading together. And so in the time that's reserved for prayer, which I don't like to do very much, I took the liberty of reading from Job. It would be chapter 28, from verse 12. But where shall wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof, neither is it found in the land of the living. The depth saith, it is not in me, and the sea saith, it is not with me. It cannot be gotten for gold, neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, with the precious onyx or the sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. The topaz of Ethiopia shall not equal it, neither shall it be valued with pure gold. Whence then cometh wisdom, and whence is the place of understanding? Seeing it is hid from the eyes of all living, and kept close from the fowls of the air. Destruction and death say, we have heard the fame thereof with our ears. I stopped my reading there at that time because it's not really my job to read the Bible at a thing like that. I was taking a liberty, but I should have continued because the final verses, of course, contain the answer to these apparently rhetorical questions. So I should add them. I think it would be correct to do so. God understandeth the way thereof, and he knoweth the place thereof. For he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven, to make the weight for the winds, and he weigheth the waters by measure. When he made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lightning of the thunder, then did he see it and declare it. He prepared it, yea, and searched it out. And unto man he said, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. I really shouldn't have omitted those final verses. But after I'd read it, sometime later, this lady came up to me and said how much she enjoyed the language and how beautiful it was. And, I really took note of that because, of course, it is. And it was good that somebody has seen that. I think once you've seen that, surely read the rest of the Bible. The Bible, not your good news copy that you don't even read anyway. Nobody reads it. Nobody knows what's written in the Bible. That's the problem. 200 years ago, they would have read it in the church aloud, because not everybody is a good reader. You need to actually read it out aloud. And you start at Genesis, and over the space of the year, I don't know how far you'd get, but, if you kept at it, I'm sure you could get a good way through it. And then you start again. It doesn't have to be reserved for just Sundays. You can go more than, once a week to church. If you're getting the Bible, I would. To hear some idiot giving his opinion or her opinion, I mean, really. So it did unsettle me, that idea that there are two types of people almost. But I just think that this was a wounded person, the young lady that plays the piano. And I was sorry that I was unable to form any kind of bond with her. I tried various connection points, but none of them worked. And when I was leaving the building, kind of waiting in the foyer, there was a very sharply dressed, short blonde-haired, butch kind of woman. And it crossed my mind that maybe this was the issue. Maybe the person that I was speaking to was involved with a woman, and this had turned her away from the Bible. I don't know. I mean, it's none of my business, of course, but, I was just curious to see the vehemence of her rejection of something of which she really had no knowledge other than hearsay. And that's the problem. If you get your knowledge from the hearsay of the Pharisees in the church, it's going to be wrong. God bless this evening.